and welcome to my Carolina homestead. It's been a minute since I've had a video out. It's a very busy time right now of harvesting and just gathering and preserving everything. So today what I have harvested, or foraged I should say, we have some wild lettuce here, and I'm going to make a wild lettuce tar tincture. Wild lettuce has a white latex sap that runs through the plant, and this is where the medicinal properties are coming from, and that contains the squiterpene lactones, and those lactones are what give it its pain relief effect. So once this is made, this will be shelf stable for a very long time, for years, because we're going to mix it with 100 proof vodka. And this is for, as I said earlier, pain relief. It also works for insomnia, and it does have a mild sedative effect. Just make sure to use small doses and use caution when using this product so that you do not overdose with it. So now what I'm doing is I'm taking this clean wild lettuce that I have washed and rinsed off. I've patted it dry. It's not completely dry, and that's fine because I'm getting ready to put it in the crock pot. And just with any type of extraction or tincture that you're making, you want to cut apart the plant as much as possible to get a lot of surface area exposed so that we can extract the medicinal properties from the plant. And so that's what I'm doing right now, just getting this prepared and sticking it in the crock pot. So I've just put a little cut in this stalk here, and you can see that white milky sap that's coming out. That is what we're extracting in this process, and that is where your pain relief and your mild sedative comes from. You can also cut this plant and use this sap and apply directly to warts once or twice a day, and it will actually remove warts. So it's definitely a great plant to go out and harvest. It's still readily available right now in our area and should be available till fall. So that is one of the goals, is to continue to hunt for our wild lettuce and preserve it in the different ways that we can use for our family. I'm just going to finish chopping this wild lettuce and get it in the crock pot. So now I have the crock pot loaded, and it's about half full with wild lettuce, and I'm just going to cover this wild lettuce completely with water. Then I'm going to cover my crock pot, and I'm going to turn it on high, and I'm going to let this cook on high for 2.5 hours. This process is not labor intensive, but it is time consuming, so you want to devote at least one full day to do this. So this is what the wild lettuce extraction looks like after 19.5 hours. So I started off with 2.5 hours on high, and then I turned it on low overnight, and it went from 5:30 p.m. to 10:30 a.m. and that has created this dark brown liquid, just a reduction and concentration of the latex from the plant, and that's exactly what we're looking for. Some people actually eat these as a bitter green. I personally do not, but if you are a fan of bitter greens, I hear this goes well with cornbread. I'm just going to remove all of the plant material out of this extracted liquid, being very careful to make sure there's nothing left. And now I'm going to strain this through 2 layers of cheesecloth to make sure there's zero plant matter in my liquid. So I'm just going to ladle all of this extracted liquid and clean that out really well to make sure I have no plant particles in there. That will degrade and rot in your medication, and you don't want that. You strictly want the liquid extraction from your plant. Now that I have strained and cleaned my extracted liquid, it is time to turn this into a tar. You want to use a heavy-duty pan. It needs to have a very thick bottom on the bottom of it because you need your heat to be consistent To maintain the medicinal properties that are in your extracted liquid through this process, you cannot allow this to boil. So when your pan gets to a medium low or low temperature, you want to keep it there and let this simmer. I really don't even let it come to any type of a low bubble. I just let the heat evaporate the water from the extraction. This whole process took about 4.5 hours, and you don't have to stand over it, but you do want to go by occasionally and just make sure you're not boiling or bubbling, and give it a stir. So I would say I would probably pop in on this about every 15 minutes and just give it a quick little stir. Now here you should be able to see a little better what I was talking about. I'm just stirring this as it's steaming. I'm not boiling or simmering. I don't have any bubbles in the bottom of my pan, but you can see there that it's just steaming and that the water inside of that is evaporating. Now I'm towards the end of this process, and almost all the water is evaporated out of here, and you can see this is starting to thicken up. Now this part happens really quickly. I've turned my burner on low, and I'm going to stand over this and stir continuously until I have created the tar consistency that I'm looking for. You'll notice that I keep the spatula moving all the time so that this does not burn on the bottom of the pan. Now you can see that I continue to push all the liquid to the center of the pan, and that is where the burner is, and I know that's where the majority of the heat is. So I try to bring it to the center so that this will cook down quickly. And as you can see, it is reducing very quickly. It's starting to turn into a syrup type texture. Now I'm at the very end, and I'm starting to get a little bit of simmering. And that's okay, but I'm only going to let this bubble for a few seconds. The bubbling is going to allow a quick release of the water that's inside of this extraction to evaporate. Now I'm not trying to turn this into a ball of tar, which you can do. I'm trying to keep this a liquid tar so that I can dissolve it in vodka and make a tar tincture. You can see how it's sticking to the spatula. It's almost, it reminds me of almost like caramel. Now that my tar is completed to the consistency that I want it, I'm going to remove it from this hot pan and put it into a small glass dish so that it can cool. And this just amazes me with the amount of plant material and water that we started with this project, and now this is the final result of our work. I've ended up with about 1/2 ounce of a very potent pain reliever for my family. And there it is. So you can see it has still a little bit of movement to it, and that's what I want because I'm going to dissolve it with 100 proof vodka. Some people like to evaporate all of the water and turn it into a tar ball, and store that in a mason jar and use it as needed, but I prefer the liquid version. I think it's just easier to dose with a dropper, so that's how I store it, is in an amber bottle with a dropper. What you didn't see off camera was I had weighed that glass container before I started, and so what I'm doing is weighing the contents of that glass container, and then I'm going to add this 100 proof vodka to it in equal parts. Sorry that the focus is off there. And now I'm just going to stir this up really well with a fork. This takes a few minutes to get it combined. So I'll just continue to stir this until this sticky tar turns into a liquid and I can add it to a amber jar. Okay, I've got this combined really well. You can see the consistency now. It's still a little thick. It does stick to the spatula, but it is a concentrate. So when you take this, you're going to take this in very, very small doses. So now it's just time to jar up our medication. I do have my amber bottle labeled with wild lettuce tar tincture, and I have the month and year that it was made. I'm just going to use this little funnel here and get this product funneled into my jar so that it can go in my medicine cabinet. It took a lot of time but very little work, and now the finished product is complete, and I have this great effective pain reliever that I can put in my medicine cabinet to use as needed for my family. I hope you give foraging a try and using nature's bounty as God intended it to be used for us. He's put everything here for us so we can treat ourselves, heal ourselves, and make ourselves healthy. We just need to take the time to educate ourselves on what's out there and available for us to use in our area, and then turn them into things that are beneficial for ourselves and our families. I thank you for joining me today at My Carolina Homestead. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and click that notification bell for more videos coming soon. Happy foraging, see you next time, and take care.